Josiah, congratulations on a great season. Ended the year with a record of 35-12. That's really impressive. Talk a little bit about the state tournament. You came away with a first opening round win. That was huge. Talk a little bit about the state tournament.
It was good. It was my first state tournament, so I enjoyed it. Transition from freestyle to folk style was great. First match, like you said, was good. Yeah, I wrestled that kid at the East-West duel, so I kind of knew how he wrestled, so I just came out aggressive. My second match, I unfortunately did lose. I hadn't never wrestled that kid before. He was pretty strong. Yeah, he was really good defensively. So that was a good match to learn from that. I always learn from every match. Win, lose, or draw. Always learn. My third match from Lincoln, Sioux Falls, Lincoln, I believe. Yes,
there we go.
yeah, he was good as well. It was a good lesson to learn there as well. I'm always just trying to grow from every match. Just grow. The Brandon Valley match was good as well. Just come out aggressive. I think that's how I could win my matches, just wrestling aggressive and wrestling my match. Wrestle hard. So yeah, the state finals or state match was it was a good experience for sure.
Josiah, talk a little bit about the culture here. You came here, I believe, from Japan.
Yeah.
And jumped right in with the Sturgis Scoopers and earned a varsity spot. Talk a little bit about the transition and how that felt.
It's been great. They just came, welcomed me. They didn't know who I was, but they're like, just come on in and wrestle. It's been great. So it was different. Transition from freestyle to folk style, but they helped me a lot. They helped me a lot to transition from that, so that helped for sure.
So, Josiah, you're a senior. Talk a little bit about your plans in the future.
Okay. So I will actually be going to Dickinson State to wrestle. Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. I don't know if it's been released yet, but I will be going, yeah. And I will be studying exercise science. So, yeah, it'll be fun for sure.
Well, congratulations, Josiah, and you are a great addition to the Sturgis Scoopers. We're really glad you decided to come here, and best of luck at Dickinson. You'll fit in well there.
Sir, thank you.
Well, Jace Thurman, congratulations on a great season. Ended up 25-13 on the year. Let's talk a little bit about the state tournament. Big, huge first win, decision, 11-4. And then the second match is when we run into Gage Lower, the state champ. Talk a little bit about that match.
It was tough going into it. I knew I wasn't a high percentage win, but just went out there and wrestled and tried my best.
Jace, talk a little bit about coming back in your placing round. Familiar face again. You beat Riley at the regions to be the champion for 4A. Talk a little bit about the finals match.
I was pretty pumped after beating Riley and going into the finals match. Just had to do the same thing, go out and wrestle, score points. Wrestled that winner kid a few times also, and kind of knew what to do with him, and just came out with the win, I guess.
Jace, what are your plans for this summer? I know you'll be back strong next year. What's your plans?
Playing baseball this spring, and then doing some work this summer, and come in the wrestling room for some open mats and things like that.
Very good. Well, congratulations, Jace, on a fun year. It's been great to have you on the Scooper varsity team and watching you, and best of luck to you next year.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Tyce, on a super year, ending the year with a 33-14 season record. You're a freshman. We're going to talk a little bit about the state tournament. Your first match, you come away with a big win. And then 10-0 major decision. And then, of course, you run into the state champ, Pierce Hurd. Talk a little bit about that match.
Well, first round, I knew it was going to be tough. I trained a lot that week. Got in here with Bryce a lot. It was really fun. But I knew I was going to have to go out there and compete, and bonus points would have been nice. Got it done. Felt really good. And I just wanted to keep the pace to Pierce. Knew he was going to be good. I was the underdog, so might as well just go let it fly.
Talk a little bit about your placing match. You had Anderson from Watertown up for 5th place. Talk a little bit about that match.
Honestly, wasn't my best match, but that last day got to me. It was pretty tiring, but, didn't finish out the way I wanted. He just countered some of my attacks from the first time I wrestled him. Beat me a couple positions and ended up sealing the match, so.
Tyce, talk a little bit about your summer plans. We're looking extremely forward to you being back next year. What's plans for this summer?
I'm going to Iowa for a folk style nationals. I am probably going to go to Fargo, a couple of freestyle tournaments, and I'm just going to keep wrestling, go to Rapid, get some practices in, and just keep competing, staying at a high level.
Very good. Well, congratulations, Tyce, on a super year. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Mason Hagen. Fabulous, outstanding record, 42-5. You're a freshman. We're looking forward to seeing you back on the mats next year. Talk a little bit about your first match. You won by fall in 5 minutes over a Brookings kid. The second match, you won by fall in 3 minutes, which took you to the championship round. And a great match there. Talk a little bit about the state tournament.
So I came in first round. I wrestled a kid from Huron. Ended up tech falling him in the second period. And then I had a kid from Brookings who I wrestled. Took him down a couple times, ended up pinning him. And then in my semis match, it was 1-1 going into the third. And then we ended up in overtime, and I took him down with a couple seconds left to put myself in the finals. Finals didn't really go how I wanted to. It's a tough kid. He's champion last year too, so I'm overall happy with how I did.
Makes it talk a little bit about summer plans. What do you got coming up?
In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll wrestle in the AAU Freestyle State, and the week after that, I'm going to Council Bluffs, Iowa, to wrestle for Team South Dakota on a Heartland dual team.
Great. Well, congratulations, Mason. Outstanding season as a freshman. We're excited to see you back next year.
Thank you.
Kelson Dirk, congratulations on an outstanding wrestling career here at Sturgis. I just have a couple questions for you. You started wrestling varsity for the Scoopers in the 8th grade. What do you remember most about stepping into the varsity lineup at such an early age?
I just remember the team being really, taking me under their wing right away. A lot of the seniors just being really kind and making me feel like a part of the team, even though I wasn't even in the same school as them. And it was a great opportunity to start at that age.
Kelson, how did those early varsity experiences help shape you into the wrestler that you've become for the next 4 years?
A lot of big pressure moments and big duels when I was 14 years old, wrestling varsity. So it was good to get those high pressure moments and knowing that I had to do my job in big duels at a young age.
Kelson, you've been a key part of the Scoopers program. While you've been here for this stretch, we've won 3 team titles and 3 titles as duels, championships. What's it meant to you to contribute to that level of success?
It's an honor, honestly, because I think I like winning team titles more than individual titles, and team is a big aspect of Sturgis wrestling. I'm just really glad to be a part of those team titles and those big team wins.
Great. For the younger Scoopers who dream about standing on the state podium like you did so many times, what advice would you have to give them?
Work hard, don't skip practice, and don't be afraid to get extra work in when the team isn't practicing.
How have the Scooper coaches and the Sturgis wrestling program helped prepare you for the next level?
First off, practices. Practices are very difficult. I've practiced at Dickinson a few times, and they're pretty similar practices. The intensity's high and just hard practices.
Yeah. Good. Kelson, what are you most excited about taking the next step and completing at the college level at Dickinson State?
I'm excited for my teammates up there. I've known a lot of those guys since a young age, and I'm excited to be teammates with them.
Kelson, when you think about your time wrestling here at Sturgis Brown, what memories will stay with you forever?
I think Jace Thurman's blood round win last year at State and Rapid will be up there with my memories, and all the team titles, of course, will be high on the memory list.
Congratulations, Kelson. It's been so fun watching you the past 5 years, and we look forward to seeing you at Dickinson State. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, Mike Abell, congratulations on a phenomenal season. How would you sum up the 2026 Scooper season in just a few words?
It was a great year. I mean, competitive, There was some adversity in there, just kind of, in our room, trying to keep the kids focused. When you're winning, everybody thinks it's awesome, but keeping kids dialed in is not easy. And so that part, for us coaches, just kind of saying keeping the train on the tracks was, tough at times. But it was a great year, undefeated in duels, undefeated in tournaments. The way the state, region state duels and state individual, it couldn't have turned out any better.
The team went 18-0 in duels this year, and we're on a streak, 41-0. Last loss was to Aberdeen in 2024. You won every tournament this season. What do you think was the key to maintaining that consistency throughout the season?
Depth. We've had injuries, we've had sickness, we've had, whatever that every other team deals with. But the difference is we have a guy waiting, right behind a varsity guy that is chomping at the bit to put a singlet on. They're super competitive. They're ready to fill that spot. And, we lost 2 years ago, we lost 8 seniors out of that lineup and reloaded with 8 new faces in the lineup and chased down another state title. We lose 9 seniors this year, and we're hoping that it's going to be similar to the same, situation where the depth in our room has proved that we can keep going. We don't have to rebuild at any point. We have good numbers in the room. Our room is super competitive, and our kids just understand it. When they get into those positions, like Cade Wilnard was last year, like Gavin Werlinger was this year, they make the most out of their situation. There's no time to learn and adjust. It is just go time, and you make the most out of your situation.
Earlier in the season in January, we had a duel with a Wyoming team, and they are now the Wyoming state champions, and we won that 66-4. Remembering back, what stood out about that match, and what does a win like that mean, and how did it help the team's confidence?
It's one that we circle on our schedule every year. Micah Kadera and I are good friends. Thunder Basin was in a similar situation 10 years ago when I took this program over. We were, getting our numbers back and getting back on our feet where we belong. And since then, he's won 3 titles in a row. We've won 3 titles in a row. So now it's gotten back to that competitive atmosphere that it once was when it was the old Campbell County. And so it's a duel that we circle every year on the calendar of knowing that they're probably the best team, on the other side of the state or, a state over. And we dueled them twice, actually, once at Pat Weed and once here at home. And they only won the same match both times with Breck and Henry. And to see what they did at their state tournament shows, the caliber of wrestling that we have. They ran away with their state tournament. And it was, for us to look back on what they're doing over there, what we're doing over here, but also the levels. I respect their program and respect what they're doing, but it does show the level that our guys are at, competitive, wrestling-wise, however you want to look at it mentally. And so it's a fun one that we look forward to every year.
The Region 4A tournament was a near sweep with 12 of our 14 wrestlers crowned as champions, scoring 313 points. How do you build the level of depth and consistency in your program?
We go into regions knowing every year you got to put yourself in the driver's seat, trying to win your region, guaranteeing yourself a top 10 seed. It's kids that we've wrestled a lot throughout the year. So it's people we're familiar with. But our region, I will say, isn't, it doesn't have the depth that it used to. So I told the kids after our region title this year that, good job, but it's not quite what we think it is. Don't make it more than it is. It's just another tournament. It's the smallest tournament that we wrestle in, as far as bodies. But, the depth in our room, our guys, we had so many JV guys, whether sitting in corners, standing behind the bench, getting the feel so when they get that opportunity next year, they're prepared for it. And, we try and get our guys, kind of rally together. We don't overthink things. We try and tell them, don't worry about the region tournament, even though technically it is the biggest tournament on the schedule, getting yourself to the state tournament. But in the end, it's just another tournament. We put them in front of so many big crowds, so many big spotlights, and wrestle the toughest competition we can throughout the year to make that seem like it's not a big deal. And I think our kids do a good job about that.
Yeah. Mike, talk a little bit about the state championship dual Class A tournament. We opened the day with Central, and had a big day going all the way through. 7 wrestlers undefeated. Talk a little bit about the state dual tournament.
Yeah, state duels, one, it's going to be the last year that the state puts them on, so it was sad to see that or hear about that, but it was good to take the last one. Starting out the day with Rapid City Central, a team that we had dueled, and we actually dueled out of the 8 teams, excluding ourselves, 6 of the 7 that we could have ran against or went up against. We beat Central. We had Watertown in the semis, which we knew was our toughest matchup. Based off of kind of our hammers running into their hammers. We told the team it's going to come down. That duel was going to come down to the kids being in the lineup for the first time, and not to put pressure on them. And they did well with it. But that was, our closest duel, and I think we doubled them up. It was 48-22, 48-24, something like that. So when we got through there, then it was kind of a refocus, knowing that we're going to go against Aberdeen, a team that we had beat at East-West duels, a team that we like to compete against. Our kids, it's a big rival for us. They were the last team to beat us in a duel 2-3 years ago. They were excited about that. And when we dueled them at East-West, we started off that duel. They pinned us in 3 weights. They were up 18-0. It was, adversity on us, and we kind of had to regroup. And our kids were ready to go that day. We lost, I think, 2 matches. That whole duel, one was, a tough one in an overtime at the very end. But our kids were dialed in, as they always are. Our kids are big about, we explain our jobs in duels, and they understand that situation of, we went the whole state duel tournament without giving up 1 pin. And I would say we're the only team that did that. And that's an impressive thing to say that we wrestled kids like Gage Lohr, Shea Richter, some of these that are, Gage Lohr's a nationally ranked kid, and he tech followed us, he didn't pin us. So those little points that we can pick up along the way are huge. And our kids are good about that. They understand their jobs, they understand their roles in both wins and losses. And it was a great tournament.
Yep. Let's move on to the state individual championships. We come home with a 3-peat win with 219.5 points. My research shows it's the second highest total in school history. How did you manage to perform at such a high level under the pressure with everybody wanting to knock off the favored Scoopers?
At the beginning of the year, we had kind of a motto, pressure makes diamonds. And, we talked about that of being under the most pressure, we're going to give our best performance. And all year, we kind of felt that target on our back, chasing the 3-peat in the duels, chasing the 3-peat in the individual. And we went out there and we preached nothing but the biggest thing, kind of our motto this year was output over outcome. Don't worry about the outcome. Let's not worry about what we need to go do individually or team. Let's just have the biggest output we can. And if we can do that for 6 minutes or 8.5 minutes, however long we have to, good things are going to happen. And when we went into the state tournament, we preached about having fun. And I would say if you saw our team all weekend, minus the final round was tough. Just the state finals, the first and second place round was a little tough on us. But other than that, 2.5 days, our kids were having a blast. They were putting out the best performances I've seen all year. They were in each other's corners. They were rallying around to one another. Placing 13 out of our 14 kids is a tough task. I think we're the only team to qualify 14. We're the only team to place 13. And it just, like I said, it goes to show our depth. And, we were probably 1 or 2 seconds from placing 14 kids, That was a tough one. But we move on and the output of our kids was super impressive all weekend. I think they had, the most fun in what should have been the most nerve-wracking situation. They were excited and relaxed and having a good time.
Talk a little bit about our one lone champion at 150 pounds, Benjamin Nadig. Talk a little bit about Ben.
Ben deserves everything he got. That kid is the hardest working kid, one of the hardest working kids I've ever been around. He sprints our warm-up. He sprints our drills at the beginning. He goes so hard during live. He doesn't take any goes off. And he's ready for whatever you throw in front of him. He had a tough match in the finals. We won with a go-behind in the last probably 15 seconds. But we had wrestled that kid at East-West. And we knew, he's a tough kid. So we knew that match wasn't going to be a blowout like a lot of Ben's matches are. And he went out there, battled, he wrestled a smart match. But he was our, out of our 6 finalists, he was our only champion. But, like I said, everything that Ben got, he deserves. He's a great kid, extremely hard worker. We're super excited to see, what he does in the future. He's only a sophomore. We get him back for 2 more years. And, he'll continue to give us 1,000% as far as his output goes. And he's got 2 younger brothers coming up through the program. So we're going to have a lot of Nadigs along the way. But we're super proud of Ben.
The team motto for the Sturgis Scoopers wrestlers has always been never satisfied. And the other day at the welcome home, I heard, if you're not winning, you are learning. Clearly resonate these sayings, shape the culture in the room. Talk about the 2 mottos.
Yeah, we got a lot of mottos. The never satisfied. I'm kind of the tough guy in the room. I can't relax at all. I got to be hard on them at all times, tell them that they're not as good as what they think they are, and constantly trying to keep them grounded, trying to make us, the best team that we possibly can be. And I told them this year, if anything was going to get in our way, it was ourselves. There wasn't a team that I thought out there that could beat us in a team duel or in a team tournament. If anybody's going to beat us, it's going to be ourselves overlooking somebody. And, we worked hard and we had a lot of meetings with the kids to keep, our focus on what our goal was. And that was, what we ended up getting at the end of the year. The other motto, the output over outcome, I think our kids were able to relax a little bit and not worry about winning so much and just worry about wrestling as hard as they could for those matches. And then the last one that you heard, Coach Kessler bring up about if you're not winning, you're learning. It's, you gotta learn from that loss. And I would use Kelson Dirk as an example. How he lost, in a match that we felt that we should have won, and I'm sure, he knew he should have won. But what he did after that match, within 15 seconds of that match, being back in the corner, right behind the coaches, cheering on his teammate, just says, speaks volumes of his character and kind of the whole learning thing and he didn't need it. He didn't need to learn. It was just him being the best teammate he could. And he wanted to know or let Zoll know he was there for him. His training partner was going to cheer him on and that everything was going to be okay. And so he was right there cheering him on. And a lot of people saw that, and like I told Kelson, and I've told a lot of people, what he did in that moment is going to be remembered for years more than if he would have won that state title. He won a title last year as a junior, so I'm glad that he did get one along the way, but it's not, the everything. Wrestling's not our identity. State titles are not our identity. And, the character that a lot of our kids showed over the weekend or over the season and in that moment speaks volumes of, our program and what kind of kids we have in our room.
It takes a group of coaches to keep this success rolling. Talk about your coaching staff.
Every year, I brag about these guys, and, Dwight's heard it every year. We say, our coaching staff is second to none. Every year our coaching staff grows a little bit, and some people kind of laugh, and they're not all paid. Only a handful, 3 or 4 of them are actual paid coaches. But we have a lot of people that are willing to volunteer time to see whether, we have parents on staff, whether it's Josiah's dad and Ray, Greg Gloat with the girls, Lily's dad. But they're not here necessarily for their own kids. They're here helping out. Ray helped out Tyce tremendously throughout the year. Greg was helping out all the girls. I think it's just, they get to see their kids, which is awesome, but they're here for everybody. And our coaches put in so much time, so much effort. They sacrifice their bodies, our families during the season to be here with these kids on these long road trips. And like I said, I cannot thank these guys enough. They're amazing. The amount of film that they watch, the amount of one-on-ones that we put in, mornings after practice. It's, like I said, it's second to none. And, we're excited for, what we got coming back, and we're going to put a lot of time in. We just had a meeting with the kids, about freestyle and off-season things and all those types of things. And I know our staff's going to step up, and the challenge ahead is, what can we do next year? The state tournament comes to Rapid. It'll be in our backyard for the next 2 years. We lose 9 seniors out of our lineup. We return the 3rd most points. Right now, if you want to say projection for next year, we're currently in 3rd place if you look just at returning points. But we're excited for what we have that I don't think people, know about or that other teams might not have. We have a lot of really good backups. We have numbers in the room. We have kids that were nipping at heels all season to be in the lineup. And, I think they're hungry. And I told them, the hunted becomes the hunter next year. We get to be the lion a little bit and show what we can do, show that we can reload and maybe make another run at this and see, what can happen.
Mike, how tough is it to say goodbye to 9 seniors that have been with you since probably the past 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, they've all been in the room for the most part. You can say a kid like Gavin or Evan, some of these that got one shot, but it's not like this was their only year in the room. They've been in here since they were 7th graders, and we appreciate everything they've done. Some of them have been in the lineup. I think Kelson, we used him as an 8th grader. So, he's been in the lineup for 5 years, and every cycle, it gets a little bit harder, to see these seniors go. And especially, a couple years ago when we had Aiden and Zach and some of those guys, Tegan, Taryn, Bo, Calvin, they were in the lineup for so long. And that's how some of these are, with Tyce Dunn and Zoll. It's hard, because they have put so much time in. You don't fill those shoes. You don't replace them. It's, different kids with different capabilities and different ceilings and things like that. But we don't coach them any different. We have high expectations, and, we expect them to do their job, whatever their job is that we give them next year, and to do it to the best of their ability.
Final question. Looking back at this three-peat, what will you remember most about this team and this season?
That's tough. Like I said, when a lot of kids on this team hadn't ever felt a loss as a team. A lot of them were 2 or 3 year varsity kids, and there weren't too many kids that were on the team the year that we lost to Aberdeen in that duel. So, keeping them focused, keeping the train on the tracks was kind of the focus this season. But we really preached about, you got to leave the program in a better position. That's everybody's job now, is when winning's happening, we can continue to win, but what can you do? Well, you can leave the program in a better situation than you found it. And I would say, you could use just Kelson's example at the state tournament, that character type thing that everybody was able to see. The program's in good hands. It's going to be in a better position than what they left it. Even though we're losing 9 guys that you cannot replace, we're in good hands. And I thank those seniors from the bottom of my heart. They'll be missed. But yeah, it was, they had a great run. 3 individual titles, 3 dual titles. It just doesn't come along a lot. We had a three-peat, 10 years ago, or maybe even 20 years ago, and they're hard to come by. But I have a lot of faith in our coaching staff and the numbers that we got coming through the room, that we're going to continue to try and put a great product on the map moving forward next year.
Well, congratulations on an outstanding season, Abell. It's just been so fun to watch the duels, the tournaments, and then capping it off with a win at the state tournament. We look forward to next year and see what we can do again.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.